357 Hemp Logistics provides fully insured transportation and supply chain management solutions for the hemp industry. From seed to store, hemp is never just another commodity to us. With best-in-class technology and a customer portal, allows you to have 24/7 real-time visibility with our track and trace technology. Secure your hemp logistics partner for both domestic and international shipping by visiting our website at www.357company.com or call us at 844-357-SHIP.
Dave with iHemp Michigan, here with Blaine and Mike. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. We have a special guest. We're looking forward to joining us today, but before we get to all that, Mike Brennan, you have an update for us.
Yes, sir. Well, there's although on a federal level, adult use recreational marijuana remains illegal, and so the feds aren't really doing much in that area. A group of 19 states have come together, including Michigan, to form the National Cannabis Regulators Association for that very purpose. So essentially, the industry is going to come up with their own rules or regulations, try to make them uniform across the state to a certain degree. And then hopefully, if on the federal level, if Congress decides that they want to either outright make adult use cannabis legal or lower the scheduling, for right now it's scheduled along with heroin and cocaine and all that on Schedule 1. But there's some talk in the House now, at least there was during the elections, of having a vote on descheduling it down to at least Schedule 2 or Schedule 3, which I think would really help the CBD industry, because then it would be a medical product authorized, and there wouldn't be any issues at all. Don't know where the DEA would come in on this. I don't know whether that would have any kind of impact. We know that they don't want to see any THC whatsoever, but it's kind of hard to avoid that in hemp, right? So we'll wait and see. And I, as we were talking, I don't know what the U.S. Senate wants to do. Mitch McConnell hasn't talked about it. And we don't even know if he's going to be the majority leader until January 5th, when those two special elections come up in Georgia. And so he's either going to be the minority leader or majority leader, but we just don't know where the Republican caucus is on this at this point. But hopefully we'll find that out very soon. So that couple things going on there post-election as we sort everything out. So I'll turn this over to Blaine. I know you got some stuff too.
You know, I got a little bit of stuff. Kind of quiet this week. One of the things that I did read, one of the news stories, was about the DEA testifying for the judge, saying that they were just trying to bring their rules in line with what the new passage of the Farm Bill was. Although it's very clear in the Farm Bill, very clear, that Congress understood this, intended this, and wrote it in there that any form of this industrial hemp should not be regulated on Schedule 1. So we'll see where this goes, but I didn't hear, the judge has not rendered an opinion yet on that lawsuit that I know of. So they're just a little bit ouchy about the fact that somebody's taking them to, to court and putting them up to where they should be. So it's all right. They need to be.
Yeah.
I know, not to interrupt, Blaine, but on my show yesterday, this came up. I have a cannabis show on Wednesday, and they brought this up, the fact that you have to go through an FBI check now to grow cannabis. And I thought that was ridiculous, because there's
grow hemp. Yeah.
Yeah, to grow hemp. Excuse me. Well, yeah, hemp and cannabis is the same thing, but hemp essentially is different, right?
Industrial.
But I mean, the point being that, who's going to smoke hemp if it's like 1/3 of 1% THC? What would be the point? So
well,
I mean,
people do. That's the smokable hemp flower is one of the best markets that the farmers have currently. They do actually, it helps them quit cigarettes. It relieves anxiety. A lot of people smoke it, for, they have PTSD. So that actually is, a viable product, and especially, getting off the cigarette thing. It's a big deal. Smoking some hemp flower is for someone that enjoys smoking, is something that you can consume. It's not an intoxicant, but it has, other benefits. You're still consuming those cannabidiol, the cannabinoids. So yeah, it's actually people do smoke it, but we've had some states that have stepped up and said, hey, no, you can't smoke hemp, because of that confusion, so there's still, obviously a lot of education to be done.
Yeah. The cannabis crowd, of course, wants the THC, so to them it wasn't attractive. But what did bother them was the fact that if you're going to grow hemp, you have to go through an FBI background check. If you've had a drug-related felony in the previous 10 years, you're out. You can't do it.
Unless, Mike,
Yes.
unless you were part of a research program
Right,
in a state, then you could still grow. And that's one of the things that in the Michigan tweaking that we had to change, this MDARD change to comply with the current law.
Yeah, okay. Good point.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Blaine, but I just wanted to, my folks were up in arms yesterday about that issue. So,
well, it does seem kind of silly, especially since it's off the Schedule 1, and it's just going back to the reefer madness thing. But unfortunately, when they passed the law, that's the bill they put in there that we got to do that. So, and it's not that you can't grow it, but you can't be a principal person. So if it's a corporation or a business that's doing it, if you're not one of the main decision makers of it, then you can still be involved in it. You can still be part of it. You just can't be one of the main decision makers of it. That's the big thing for it.
If you have a criminal background, right?
If you have to have a criminal background. And the check is pretty easy. I went through that a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Pretty easy to do. So not real hard to get through that. I did it in a matter of an hour. I mean, that includes going to get my fingerprints done and the response back. So.
Yeah, and the reason, Mike, they did this program versus what was it called last year, Blaine? iChat?
iChat. Mm-hmm.
So the way we did it in 2019, the background check only checked for Michigan. So this new process checks nationwide. So it's not a real big game changer. The big game changer was the cost of a grower's license went from $100 to $1,250.
Yeah.
And plus, so that's the big game changer, and something that we're looking at and working on to, find a path for smaller growers to get involved.
Let me ask you, I mean, are your members telling you as iHemp that they're actually making money on the hemp crop? I mean, is it still experimental where break even, okay, maybe a few bucks or what?
Blaine, you want to take that? It's a mixed bag.
I was reading a question from Eric Anderson I'm going to answer. So if you'll ask it again, Mike, I'll
I'll answer. So, we've had some success stories, certainly people that have contracted in advance and, have, grown a crop that was, for a buyer, they, of course, they found success. We're still getting calls. It just blows me away. Hey, I grew 30 acres. What do I do with it? How do I harvest it? It's like, it's a lot of work.
There was some people that did. There's Greg calling me. Hold on. I think Greg's going to join us. Hey, Greg.
Live show, you gotta love them, huh?
Yep. So, so that's, it's been a mixed bag, but the thing is, we've had some people that said, I'm out. I'm not going to do it because, we're in a learning, we're really still in a research and learning phase at this point, and it's smarter to do small trials. Yeah. But the cost, $1,250 on top of the cost of your clones or your seed and your labor. I mean, it's not for, a casual.
It gets to a valid point. I mean, if it's kind of like farmers don't grow other crops unless they got a buyer on the other end. And we're at that stage of the hemp world development where there aren't a lot of buyers on the other end at this point, at least in Michigan. That's my understanding, right?
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, it's going to be here, but big part of it, most everyone's growing for the cannabinoids, and until the FDA gets on board, for the food side of that. It's, we're not going to have that scalability right now. People are, doing the little, tinctures, my bud tenders tincture, and the salves and things like that. So you're trying to get that market distribution set up during a pandemic, which adds a whole nother complication to it.
Yeah. Well, if you can survive, if you can survive business now with all the bad things going on, you can survive anything, right? So
yeah, hemp is
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Good. I was on mute there. Sorry.
Verizon commercial there for a
Greg's
second.
going to be joining us in just a few minutes here, Dave. So
Okay.
let me answer Eric's question, and then why don't we play our footage for our sponsor this time, 357 Hemp Logistics. But Eric, to answer your question, I was able to go to the UPS store and get my fingerprints done, completed, sent to the FBI. By the time I physically got back home, I had a response back that my background check was done. So Sterling Identity, if you just do a search for Sterling Identity, cost me $49. That included the fee for the FBI, which is $18. It was real quick. I just went into the store. They give you a QR code that you take there, and they've got a little finger pad that you put your left hand on, your right hand on, your two thumbs, and away you go. And so they are still doing it, Eric, even though other ones may not be. So, yep. And then it comes out with a nice little says I was good to go. So on mine. Hey, Greg. So Greg's connecting. But Dave, why don't you go ahead and roll our footage for our sponsor first, and then we'll come back to Greg.
Yeah. Thank you, Blaine. And I forgot to cue that up. Give me just 1 second. Well, why don't we go to Greg, and I'll roll this at the end.
Okay, we can do that.
I was not prepared.
All right. Well, we are very fortunate to have Greg Wilson with us today.
Oh, I found it.
Now, sure, that's the way it happens, right? Then when you find it.
Okay.
We're very, very fortunate to have Greg on today. Our person that was going to come on and talk about some food stuff and actually do a little food show like Rachel Ray had a business conflict that came up. So we're going to have him in January. So Greg was willing to step in for us and help us out, talk a little bit about the hemp world and hemp wood. And Greg, maybe you can give a little bit about your background and how you got involved in this. Your story on your website is pretty cool, but why don't you go ahead and give us your story?
Well, yeah, sure. Howdy, everybody, and thanks for having me here. My name's Greg Wilson. I'm just a normal guy. I make rectangular logs for a living, and this time we're making them out of hemp. So we take the hemp stalks, we impregnate them with the proteins from soy flour. We have an organic acid that's our cross-linking agent, same thing you use in pure bond plywood. Dry it out like you're seasoning a log. So we season it before it gets pressed into a log. That way we don't have such a long drying time. Compress it under 3,000 tons of pressure and bake it in an oven like a loaf of bread. And it comes out outperforming your domestic hardwoods and a lot of your tropical hardwoods. So kind of similar to what we did with bamboo. That was my college project. We were trying to figure out a way, I guess it's been 20 years now, of making bamboo flooring harder so you could use it for commercial applications in flooring. The original vertical and horizontal bamboo, high heels used to put dents into it. And so you couldn't do it for hotels and restaurants and things like that. And with green building codes coming about at the turn of the century, everybody was trying to find a natural green building material for flooring, but you couldn't use it in commercial applications. So we figured out some people tried to impregnate it with acrylics and stuff like that. Some people tried to compress it, and we just tried to impregnate it and then compress it.
Now, I looked at your site, and you've got a really nice video there showing how you kind of do it. I don't know if you have a better video, but we thought maybe we'd show that and let people see the process of how you do that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if we have a better video. I'm not quite sure which one we got up on the website, but we're just a bunch of makers. We make stuff. We make hemp wood and we turn it into flooring and furniture and things like that. And there's all types of media that come around and take pictures and take videos, and then they end up putting it up on the website. So I do have to say, we need to increase or improve our sales and marketing. But we're pretty busy just making stuff.
All right.
Now, is it fire resistant too, or what?
Yes, sir. So the density of the product makes it more fire resistant than your typical hardwoods. So the compression ratio that we have is based off the Fibonacci sequence, hence the name Fibonacci, the owner of Hempwood. That's my company. But your density of your wood makes it less flammable. So think of a piece of pine that has a low density is your fire starter because it's more flammable compared to a piece of oak, which is what you use to keep your coals burning, but it doesn't flame. And then the next step would be trying to burn like a tropical hardwood. So you can't light a tropical hardwood unless you just throw it into a fireplace that already has burning coals.
Dave, you got that queued up? Can you cue that up?
I do.
All right. Let's go ahead and do that. I've got some samples of the wood I'll show Greg when we get done with the video. So.
Oh, you know what? Let me redo my share because I always forget to click this little button.
The one that says share the audio?
You go away for a week, Dave, and you forget everything. You know?
And I didn't have gray hair before I left.
Yeah, I know you had brown hair when you left. So I mean, what's up with that, right?
Millions of years between different species of flora and fauna, and when you clear cut a forest, all that just goes away. There's so many different types of plants and animals that are threatened, and if we were to replace the demand for wood products with hemp products, those ecosystems can remain. We're trying to take the attributes of a really hard, old growth forest or wood and take a renewable, fast growing resource and convert it into it. Hemp only takes 120 days to grow, where oak trees, they can take generations to grow. So farm to table, we can literally make a table in 120 days.
Days ago, this was knee high. It continues to grow at an alarming rate, and this will end up being 6 to 8 feet tall. Then we're able to take the fiber from that and turn it into products like Hempwood is doing with this table here, and other products that they're making for hardwood flooring, for picture frames, for almost anything that can be made out of hempwood as a substitute for our traditional oaks and our traditional hardwoods.
Being able to make something that is getting closer and closer to being sustainable and kind of fulfilling the green chemistry cycle, so to speak, is something that's going to become more and more important for us here in the U.S. and just globally because of all, especially, all the plastic pollution, but even, the pollution that we get from the common adhesives, thermosets that can't be recycled.
So we deal with the old school fiber hemp, the stuff they used to make rope out of. It's this stuff. I mean, there's the hurd, which is the woody center, and the bast, which is the stringy outside. That's what you're gonna make textiles, rope, things like that out of.
It's really interesting to see how the sharing community is kind of playing into this and being able to take what someone's craft or artistry is with buying hempwood, and then they're making, say, these exquisite tables in Poland, or somebody in the UK is making furniture out of it, or someone in Canada is making cabinetry for the kitchens out of it. So it's actually kind of been grabbed up by the internet and taken all over the world, where people are trying to figure out what to do with it. And the best thing we can do is just allow them to share it on our platforms so everybody else can see how it sands and how it cuts and how it turns and how it stains and how it coats.
This has never been done anywhere in the world. We've designed and built everything we use in this process. We've adapted what technology we can from the bamboo industry. We've used agriculture equipment, other pieces of equipment from sawmills, paper mills, cotton industry. We've had to heavily modify existing tobacco dryers that were retired because the tobacco industry has declined. Nothing existed to do this, so we have to adapt everything, either make it from scratch or take something existing and modify it. The hemp is grown locally. Everything is sourced locally as much as we can.
We try to keep everything within 100 miles of our factory here in Murray. And as the hemp industry evolves, we'd like to get everything closer and closer to our factory here and cut down on shipping and the logistics of that.
Farmers need all the tools in the toolbox they can have. And if agriculture hemp adds another tool to their toolbox for economic opportunity, then that's a great opportunity to build the farm economy of our region. Kentucky, what led the nation in hemp production in the 30s and 40s. Why can't we do it again? And one of the reasons that we can is because of sustainability.
The idea is to end up having franchises of this go out across the world. This is going to end up being a replacement for tropical hardwood or even for your domestic hardwoods, and earning its place on the shelf next to oak, your maples and your hickories and your tropical hardwoods, and then you have your bamboos and your corks, and now it'll be your hempwoods.
Was that Samuel Jackson?
Hey, you see that? That's before I had my rut beard.
Yeah.
Well, it's winter time now. You know, you got to get that. Got to get that for the winter. So that was a great video explaining. So it looks like you take all this and you said you press it and you put you impregnate it. You said with what do you impregnate it with to make it the soy?
Yep. So we're stealing the proteins from soy flour. We work with Cargill on that. Cargill supplies us this really fine ground soy flour that has a high protein content. Mix it with water, and then we dunk the hemp into it. And that boosts the protein content, which is the bridge between the organic acid and the hemp stalks. So once you press it together and bake it, it actually solidifies or becomes a monolithic piece.
Yeah. So I've got a couple samples. This is one. This is a finished sample. This is the flooring sample that you made. So that's the one, and then this is another piece here. So just two different colors on their stain. You can see that all right. On that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I got two other pieces. Now these are just regular. This is how it comes out, and you cut it and make it. Then these are the flat pieces I have here. I don't see it very well.
Yep, that's a face sawn there, and then that's a rip sawn there.
Okay.
And then you just stain it to whatever you want to, what wood you want to assimilate. Is that what it is?
Yep. So as an ode to our home state of Kentucky, we have our first stain, and actually the only stain that we offer in all our different products is called bourbon. It's a medium brown. And nice. It is what you see right here. Sorry, there's a bunch of purchase orders and stuff on the table, but that's this one here.
Uh-huh.
These are tables in our office, and then you can see these ones here. That's the natural. Sorry, we got a concrete floor here, but every time we make a new batch of flooring, it gets sold before I get a chance to put it down in the office. So as you can see right out here, there's the press that presses all the hemp wood. This week, we only have a quarter of our people in due to COVID. So, yeah, we had, unfortunately, we had a couple of our interns from the university here, from the ag school, that tested positive, and then it sent a scare through the place, and we were shut down for 2 weeks for quarantining.
Yeah.
That seems to be the case just about everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I was curious on the pricing. Is it priced similar to wood? Is it higher or lower? Or where does that come in?
Well, it's higher than some woods and lower than others. So we're never going to be competitive with pines and poplars, your softwoods. Pines and poplars are anything that is a paint grade lumber.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff, you can get it for less than 25 cents a board foot for your harvesting rights from the government. So you're never going to be able to compete with that. Essentially, I like wood. We love wood. We're not against proper forestry because proper forestry is needed. Clear cut forestry is a different story because that kind of wipes the slate clean, and then you don't have your traditional old growth to go back in there. So the best way of foresting is selective cutting, where you go in and you're cutting the trees that have fully matured, that are taking up too much of the canopy space. And those in our area here are your hardwoods, your hickories, your white oaks, your to a lesser degree some maples, and black walnut starts here and just goes south down into Alabama. So we are cheaper than black walnut. We are competitive with white oak. I don't really keep a thumb on the price of what maples or what hickories are, because hickory is such a pain in the butt to work with. People don't do a whole lot with it because it's so hard. With the maples, you have a hard maple and you got a soft maple. And where we're at, we don't have the hard maples here. They're more up north. I mean, the Canadians are famous for maple, so it's not real prevalent in our area. But we're in that white oak to black walnut range for your domestic hardwoods, and we are less expensive for the most part, unless you got a cousin who's a lumber dealer. We're less expensive than your tropical hardwoods, which we perform very similar to, like your Brazilian cherry. Our density target is Brazilian cherry, which is about 850 kilos per cubic meter, and is considered to be the pinnacle for a widely available hardwood, tropical hardwood. And we have a hardness that's up there as well, because the density equals your hardness equals your stability. So the performance of Brazilian cherry made in America at the price of your white oaks and your walnuts.
So how long does it take you from when you take the hemp and start working with it, putting it through your machines and pressing it? How long is that whole process to make that lumber, that chunk of lumber there that we saw?
It is typically less than 72 hours to make what's called a cant. In the wood industry, your standard trading unit outside of logs are cants. And so you square off a log, and then it's either a 6x6 or an 8x8. And so we make 6x6s here. And from the hemp fiber coming in and going into the process to the finish of the baking and demolding and putting it to stabilize or rest is usually less than 3 days.
Wow.
But then we got to let it set for 2 weeks and stabilize before we cut it.
See, this fits so in well with our expo theme this year, a sustainable world. So that's great for that. So, and just a little shout out, we're working with Greg and some of the people that he has to manufacture and make the Hempy Award trophies this year. So we're really excited to do something actually going to be the trophy will actually be made out of hemp material. So that's what we're looking
at. Oh yeah, and so this is the guy, Squire Babcock. He's been making these. These are urns that people are buying for their pets. When they have a pet and they get it cremated, they're putting it in a renewable urn.
Nice.
And he makes a lot of these other bowls and different things like that. So he's our local wood turner who's just super amped up about what we're doing here.
Well, yeah.
Do you have like a? Do you have a?
Let me see that bowl again, would you?
Yeah, that could be the Hempy Award there. You know, so.
That's a good niche. The pet niche is a good niche.
That's very nice. Yeah. So,
we have a question, Greg. Do you have, I don't know what this is, decorative ferts? I don't know what a decorative fert is. Anybody know? Clyde's asking.
I may need to help us understand that. I'm going to respond back to Eric just for a second on his. So Eric, I use my local UPS store. They're the ones that were able to do that for me. So I don't know if I would check with your local UPS store and see, because all I did was go online, fill out the form on Sterling. They sent me the QR code. And I went down to my local UPS store to do it, but I called them first and they can do it. So check that out. That might be of help to you, Eric.
Greg, do you have a thinner material to do like a wall covering?
Yeah. We do accent walls for sure. We also got, look at this duck call somebody made for me.
Oh,
one of the coolest things are, I'm an outdoorsman, so I love just being outside. That's my thing. Whenever the world's treating me wrong, I go for a hike. And then everything is right. Or go sit in my deer blind. So the thing for me is there needs to be an oak tree to hang my tree stand on, so they're not all cut down. I live on a little farm here, and it's just getting outside helps me forget about 2020. But to answer your question is, We do wood wall coverings. It's similar to the platform that you have for the flooring. We can cut it as thin as you want. The thinner you go, the more of a pain in the butt it is for us to cut, just because it's so hard. You can't slice it with a knife blade. You have to cut it with a saw blade. It has to have teeth in it. And so it's not like peeling a log. But we do have customers that are ordering 2 millimeter stuff.
2 millimeter. Wow.
Yeah, there's actually some electric car companies that are doing some stuff with that from us, and some furniture makers that are working on that type of stuff.
Excellent.
So Clyde's question is, does it have to be decorticated first before you work with it?
Nope.
Oh.
Decortication is something that everyone's trying to figure out, and I don't quite know why. So we use the whole stalk. We prefer to have a granary take care of the top of the plant, and that way it actually takes the pressure off of us for having to be able to like supply contracts and buy everything that comes out of it. We work with our local granary, and they cut off the top. They set the header at about 6 feet high or something like that, and cut off the flower and the seed. And then we buy the stalks at the same price of hemp straw. And it kind of adds to what they can get out of the crop. So it's like a bi-crop or a tri-crop. If you do it dedicated, there's a whole lot more risk factor for us as well as for the grower. But if you can get, say, $600 or $800 out of the seed on the plant, and if you can try to figure out what to do with the CBD, the flower, there's that seems to come and go a lot. But you can make $600 or $800 out of the flower on the plant. It's a low level CBD, but they just bale it and send it wet. I think you get 75 cents or $1 a pound, not a percent a pound, just a pound, but it's wet. Low level CBD goes to the animal treats. And then we come back and buy the stalks, and you can get 2 or 3 tons. I'd say 3 is about the average tons of the fiber after the top's been taken off per acre. And it's anywhere from 100 to 150 bucks a ton, but you can add in an extra $300 or $400 for the grower that otherwise just got to get plowed into the soil.
Yeah, that's exciting. Now, did you start out importing hemp fiber?
Nah, I was living in China until like 2 or 3 years ago. I was doing bamboo flooring.
That's right. I remember reading
so
that. Yeah.
Back in college when I was working with bamboo, I sold my car and bought a plane ticket, went over there, and we ended up setting up 53 of these plants doing bamboo logs, which turned into flooring and furniture. And then when the Chinese government deemed those patents to be a monopoly and allowed everybody to make the same product, then figured out another raw material source for that company I was working for, eucalyptus. So it's the strand woven eucalyptus you see at all the Lowe's in the United States, goes through Cali bamboo. And then I traded those patents to the company to send me to business school. I got the bright idea to strike out on my own, and pretty much had to leverage all my personal assets to to get this thing going.
Yeah. So do you see, so in your video, which obviously was a little bit ago, you were talking about, you know, your circumference is about 100 miles from your plant, and you're trying to shrink that. And you'd mentioned maybe opening up some other locations. Do you see, you know, how do we get one of your presses here in Michigan to start making hemp wood up here?
Well, first of all, you guys got to beat Ohio State this year.
Well, Blaine's a Michigan State person, so
that's like not gonna happen.
No, I'm just kidding. I've always been a Michigan football and basketball fan. When I was young, that's when the Fab Four were about, and so I lived in Maryland, but Maryland football was not great, and so I was watching Michigan football. And Maryland basketball was always okay, but I'd always end up watching Michigan as well. So
yeah, I live in Ann Arbor, so I'm actually about a half a mile from Michigan Stadium. We don't play football there anymore, though. After these last few games, I'll tell you, woo, you know. So,
well, So we have plans to set up Hempwood West next year. We're still figuring out all the details, but it looks like it's going in Oregon. And then the following year will be Hempwood East. And Hempwood East is looking like Pennsylvania, but it's still too far to say for sure. And then we'd like to get another place set up in the Midwest somewhere, because
Michigan,
there's a
perhaps,
whole lot of
huh?
raw material. Man, it's possible, definitely. We're looking at Montana, Colorado, Texas, Michigan. Texas seems to be pretty close to where we are in West Kentucky, so that one might not be the best idea. So somewhere up north.
Well, gosh, it sounds like an opportunity there, Blaine and Dave. You'll have to work on him. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, as the grain and the fiber come on, there's no question about that. I just found out yesterday, I didn't know this, that there was somebody that grew 400 acres of grain here in Michigan. So be interesting. I'm going to talk with them a little later today and find out what that's all about. So now there is a question here from Clyde again. So is a fiber better than the dual purpose for you, or does that not really matter?
Oh, there's agronomists and scientists working on that.
Okay.
And I don't know the complete answer. We are growing, we could have up to 10 different strands of hemp that come into the plant here every year. I know Aletta Campagna, the Italian dual crop, worked very well. I know that.
Could you spell that for me? What's that called again?
Oh,
I
wish I could.
How's that?
Aletta Campagna, it's an Italian strand. That stuff did really well when we used that. We had some Canadian stuff called Joey that did pretty well when we used that. We've had some Polish strands called B-Lab that worked really well. A guy named Wittold over at the Polish Fiber Institute has those strands, and they work well up north where you guys are, because they're about the same latitude. Then, what else? There's been some.
Margaret supplied you the correct spelling of that name, Margaret.
Thank you, Marguerite. Thank you.
There you go. Who else is there? What else is there? There's some Chinese auto flowering that didn't work really well, but you could use them after you had your winter wheat come out in June. So winter wheat comes out in June here, and so instead of doing beans, you could plant that stuff in July, and it seemed to work out. Then there was, what else did we have? Fibernova, an Italian strand that grew like crazy, but it actually got too big for our equipment to be able to harvest it.
Oh, really?
And then have I tried any of the feral ditchweed? I've had some people send it to us. I don't know if we've actually done anything with that. There's some guys out in Colorado that are claiming the feral ditchweed is what they're doing or growing, so it doesn't have any of these genetics that people charge a boatload of money for. So my guess would be is it'll get to just, well, I don't know. It could go the way of somebody owning a bunch of the different genetics and keep it really expensive, or it could go the way of having a whole bunch of different types of hemp that are just readily available. I don't know which one. I mean, obviously, the less expensive the seed is, the less expensive per acre it costs to do it. Our cost here in Kentucky, just to get it, when we're at about $200 to $300 per acre in seed at $4 to $6 a pound. You use 50 pounds per acre. To get it in the ground and get your ground all ready with your nitrogen and everything like that, you're talking another $150. So you're already at $400, $500 before you go to harvest. So we always say a general rule of thumb is it costs you at least $600 an acre, maybe up to $800 an acre to plant and then harvest.
And have you equated how many in an acre, how much board or board footage you would be able to make out of that, or is it just vary too much to come up with a figure for that?
Oh, no, yeah, you can. So per ton of input raw material, we can get 600 to 800 board foot. And if we average 3 tons an acre here, and I mean, there's some stuff that ends up at 5, there's some stuff that ends up at 1 or 2, depending on how you're doing it. Because if you do it as a dual crop, you're cutting off the top, but you're also driving over top of it with 2 30-inch wheels. So you're losing 5 feet out of your 20-foot header, sometimes even 6 feet, by driving over top of it to cut the top. And it's not like wheat, so you can't cut it this way for the top and then come back against the grain to try to harvest the bottom. It doesn't pop back up like that. So you're losing about a quarter when you drive over top of it. But so 3 tons as an average times, say, on the low hand, 650, then you're actually looking at about 2,000 board foot an acre. Conservative. You could maybe double that.
Mm-hmm.
Once
we
we actually figure it out.
2,000 board foot.
3 tons.
2,000 board foot per acre.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
3 tons. Yeah, 3 tons of hemp fiber coming out of it.
Okay.
Have you been able to use the CBD stalks plants at all, or not in that process? Will that not work for you?
Oh, it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
It's like trying to pick up a bowl of wet noodles. But what I can say is that what it needs to be is just, if you can grow low percentage CBD on a high volume, then why wouldn't you do that? That's the only way you scale it. Because the reality is CBD works well in a greenhouse. It works okay outside because there's so many different variables. And if you're trying to keep such a particular outcome for your CBD, say you want to have 20% CBD content, but less than 3% THC, and the wind blows one way and your cow farts the other way, all of a sudden you've got non-compliant material.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you have it inside of a greenhouse, it's a lot safer. But I got a greenhouse on my place, and it's 2,000 square feet under roof. You just can't scale that up to be a full-time thing. I do know people that do it by the hundreds of acres right around us. I mean, 200, 400, 800 acres by a single farmer around us. And they'll have some bad years, some great years, mostly okay years. But it costs a lot.
Yeah. There's certainly some risk there.
Yeah, it's more comparable to tobacco. There's a whole lot of manual labor that goes into it. And so it's really Spanish labor that ends up, just like tobacco around here, that ends up doing the 600, 800 acre plots, because you got to plant it in rows with the same equipment as tobacco. And then you've got to go and hunt for your males all the time out there trying to pick them. And you got to go and pick your weeds because you don't have herbicides and pesticides. And then it's all harvested by hand too. So, and if you really want to keep your weeds out so you don't got to pick it, you got to put plastic in the field. And if you're putting rows of plastic, then you got to pull the plastic. So there's a whole lot to it to do it on a large scale like that. And I'm concentrated on making rectangular logs. So CBD does have its use as a finished product. I can say that it does help for some of my aches and pains and things like that. So there is a purpose or use for it, but how it gets scaled up is there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done there.
So going forward with your hemp wood and that kind of thing, where do you see, I mean, you must be getting contacted quite frequently then from different manufacturers and different people that want to try to use your wood in different in different uses. Where do you see this going? Are you positive for the future for this?
Oh yeah, we'll make $1 billion a year industry. It's just a whole lot of hard work. So we have 940 some inquiries to license our intellectual property to set up these different plants. Everybody wants to get rich quick. and I have to remind people it's a sawmill. You don't get rich quick. It's a lot of hard work. It's farming and sawmilling and manufacturing. But it's scalable. And when I say scalable, not one central location pumping it out to the world. We want to set it up where it's locally harvested and grown hemp, and then locally sold hemp wood into everything comes from less than 100 miles into the plant. And then you can ship same day or 1 day shipping by the pallet load. And the manufacturer is the distributor within 500 miles of your plant.
So if people want to buy your product, your wood product, how do they go about doing that right now?
Give us a call, hempwood.com. It's got an email address. It's got a phone number on there. And then it's got our standard products that you can buy direct off of the website. We usually try to turn around website orders, our standard products, within a week. Sometimes it takes us 2 due to all this COVID junk going on. It's miserable with that.
It might take 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was in here last night until 9:30, 10 o'clock, trying to get some of the orders prepped up that need to go out for the end of the week. Typically I'm in here to change the dryers between 9 and 10 o'clock. I come back to change the dryers, and I can walk around and see, just see what happened for the day. But now, since the production is suspended for 2 weeks, I'm coming in to, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I'm coming in to just try to make sure orders are ready to go for the next day, and trying to answer sales calls. Somebody just called the phone line to the office. Somebody just called my cell phone number. Just got 3 inquiries to, I got 3 inquiries to build plants today since I went out there to run the saw. Everybody's got a lot of hype around it, but it needs to have your standard mature distribution methods. I mean, it needs to have retailers that have repetitive orders on a pallet size basis. Our objective is to have a.
Yeah, so right now, people need to order directly from you. You don't have any other flooring distributors or that kind of thing that are available. They just need to call directly to you to get that, right?
No, we do have a few.
Okay.
So in California, Real Lumber, they carry our product in Southern California, the LA area. They got 3 different locations. We have H&H Lumber in San Diego, that's a little south of there. We have Hemp General Store in the San Francisco area. We got the Prineville campus near Bend, Oregon. We have Woodcraft. We got a half a dozen, maybe 10 Woodcraft stores around the United States that are starting to carry our lumber. We have a company called Formology out in Portland that's been buying some pallets of stuff. We have, so that's the West Coast.
Well, then you can hook
Colorado.
If there's a local, if there's a closer source, then you can hook them up through that to get them.
Absolutely. Colorado, we do a fair
amount. We've had another question. Are you looking into hemp seed protein to replace the soy protein that you're using now?
Oh yeah, we figured out how to do it. It just costs way too much. And so there's not a viable alternative, even double the price right now, because you have to use the seeds. And in using the seeds, soy, even with it going up to like $11 a bushel now, it still costs us. Yeah, it is. It still costs us the same amount. We're talking 30 some cents a pound for our soy flour coming in order to use not just the shells, but use the actual inner, the whole of the seed for replacing that protein and grinding it up. We're talking like $4 or $5 a pound. So does it work? Yes. Is it comparable? Somewhat. How can you do it on a profitable basis? I don't know, because right now my glue is actually costing me the same amount as my hemp in a piece of hemp wood.
Oh, wow.
And it's 80. Yeah. It's 85% hemp in hempwood, and it's about 12% soy in there, something like that, 10 to 12. And then you got your cross-linking agent and your dish detergent. And the dish detergent keeps out the mold and all that stuff.
Dawn, do we use Dawn dish soap?
Oh, that's a secret sauce.
Oh,
Nobody
okay.
really knows what's in KFC's chicken, right?
Can you derive a nail through this?
Actually, no, it's too hard.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can use a trim nail in the rift cut, but in the face cut, nope.
You'd have to drill it and screw it, basically, if you're building something, assembling something.
Correct. But with face grade lumber, you typically don't screw stuff together.
Okay.
Now, this may sound like a crazy question, but for military uses, would it be bulletproof?
I've been doing some testing out on my farm with some 9mm and some
fun.
12 gauges, and I gotta.
That's good for some 2020 stress too.
It is. So bulletproof, no, but is it more of a repellent than some of your or most or all of your other traditional woods? Yes. So there are some people that are using it in they're building safe rooms in houses, and they're using that for the wood wall in their safe rooms because it does have a higher impact rating than, say, oak.
Has the military come around to ask you these questions, whether there's something they could use?
Nah, the only time the government comes around is to take money or take me to court.
Okay.
Literally, they took $51,000 out of my bank account in August without notice.
Oh, really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
From the government, we're here to help you. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Help ourselves.
Well, also, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I had to go to court with them twice this year already. We are considered to be underneath of the 1970s Controlled Substance Act. And so our renewable energy grants, because you can't burn your waste hemp, even if it's an agricultural product, the EPA deemed that it was a industrial waste. And I said, look, I'm on a farm, and so they said, look, here, just put in some method of being able to utilize it rather than having a burn barrel out back. And so we put in a bio burner, and we're eligible for a U.S. Department of Agricultural grant for renewable energy and agricultural processes. And everything was okay until we went to collect the check, and it was only $20,000, but it was a quarter of the price of this grant, or the price of the machine, to turn our waste hemp into the energy for our dryers and our ovens via glycol. So we transfer the energy around the plant and then drop it into the different equipment, so we don't have to rely on fossil fuels as much in here. But the USDA then dropped the project after we had already bought it and installed it, because we were hemp, and Kentucky didn't follow the 2018 federal farm bill because they didn't agree with all the terms in it. They stuck with the 14 provisional farm bill.
Yep.
Yep. And so then they said, well, you're a controlled substance. And so then I had to go to federal appeals court, first time in federal court. And it was over the phone and on Zoom. And I had to hold up a bag of hemp sawdust and wood sawdust and say, really? We're burning this to turn it into the energy for our plant because we were told by one of your other agencies to do it this way. And it finally got through because Murray State, they sent out the dean of the ag school here. Dr. Brandon was the first person to plant hemp in the United States legally since World War II. And that's the reason we're here. They have a center for agricultural hemp here. And so they do a whole bunch of our science. Startup can't have PhDs on the staff or you'll go broke. But we can contribute to the Agricultural Hemp Innovation Center, and then they deploy the different PhDs that we need, different doctors and professors and things like that, on a part-time basis to help with our project. So that's where our glue chemistry comes from. And that's where our engineering help comes from.
Nice.
And that's where our agronomy comes from. So Dr. Brannon got on there and set them straight in Washington about what hemp and hemp wood really was. And then it was deemed that hemp wood is the same as hemp rope. And therefore, if any farm in the state of Kentucky that had hemp rope or canvas sacks on their farm was not eligible for any sort of government subsidy, aid, grants, or loans, then we might as well just give up right now. Give up farming. And they came back and said, if you don't have the flower, if you don't have the leaf, if you don't have the seed, if you don't have the root, then you're just using the stalk the same as rope.
Makes sense.
Isn't that interesting?
Wow. As if it's not hard enough.
And then the tariffs came into play, and they ended up taking a bunch of money out for that.
Well, Greg, we sure appreciate you taking time out of your busy day with all you got going on there with COVID, and we hope you're the best that you don't get it. So hopefully you don't have that problem.
Oh, that's already over with.
Yeah. And if you're looking for a good place to do hempwood north, I'm recommending Michigan. So big population, lots of manufacturing, lots of farmers. We got it all.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know the best way to encourage us up there? Buy so much hempwood that buy so much hempwood the transportation becomes a problem. So it's got to be set up there.
There we go. All right, we'll get on that.
Tell everybody who's interested in hemp that the best way to get a hempwood plant in Michigan is start using hempwood. And then we see the orders coming from a certain area and say, why wouldn't the next plant go there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we're going to Oregon and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Because the Northeast buys a whole bunch and the West Coast buys a whole bunch.
Makes sense. All right.
All right. Well,
alrighty.
It's awful nice flooring, folks. That's like I say, it's pretty nice flooring. Not about it. It lasts a long time. Yeah, you got a bigger.
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
All right. Thanks,
All
Greg.
right. Cheers.
Thanks,
bye.
Greg.
All right. Well, I'm good. Okay. I guess it's time for the Hemperor, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was actually very interesting. That was a very interesting session. I learned a lot from that. So,
hey, Blaine.
Yeah.
Before you do that, let's do a shout out to our sponsor. So because this ties right into this. Transporting the hempwood is a big deal. I had it up here. Where'd it go? Here we go. So
357 Hemp Logistics provides fully insured transportation and supply.
Oh, I forgot to hit my button again. I don't know why they do that. Oh, no, I didn't. It was there by default.
Chain management solutions for the hemp industry. From seed to store, hemp is never just another commodity to us. With best-in-class technology and a customer portal, allows you to have 24/7 real-time visibility with our track and trace technology. Secure your hemp logistics partner for both domestic and international shipping by visiting our website at www.357company.com or call us at 844-357-SHIP.
Yeah, that's going to be a big part of it, transporting all this fiber where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So thanks to Kevin from 357 Hemp Logistics. Give them a call for your shipping needs.
All right, Dave, I'm going to give the recipe, but if you would you queue up the Expo website?
You bet.
As soon as I do this, we'll talk a little bit about that. So this comes from Mike Brennan. Actually supplied this to us. This is a great dessert idea for upcoming holidays. It's pretty easy to make. So it's peanut butter balls are made with creamy peanut butter, Rice Krispies, confectionery sugar, and chocolate. This is a no-bake recipe, and it's perfect for Christmas and holiday parties.
And very low cal too, right? Very low cal. So
actually, if you share it with friends, you can only count half the calories.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Ingredients are half a cup of peanut butter, 3 tablespoons of soft butter, a tablespoon of vanilla, a cup of Rice Krispies, half a cup of chopped pecans, a cup of shredded coconut, a package of chocolate chips. Might want to put a package in half. Some people like those better. A square of sweet chocolate. And of course, the ever-present and great hemp hearts you're going to want to put in there. Probably about 1/3 of a cup, I would think we'll put in there. You put it all in a mixing bowl and you refrigerate it for 30 minutes and start making in a double boiler, melt the chocolate chips and the sweet chocolate, then drop the balls into the chocolate one at a time to coat. Use a fork to make it easier. Arrange the balls on parchment paper and freeze to set. So we'll get that up on the website soon so everybody can have a nice taste of that coming up. So real quickly, I want to give a shout out with our, unless there's anybody else, there's anything else for the goodness here. I want to talk a little bit about the expo coming up. We've got everything up on the website now. We're running on that. It's there for exhibitors. Get your virtual room. We've got the speakers listed there. We'll be including the speakers and updating it more as we get more details on that. But we've got a great lineup. Again, a sustainable world is our theme, and obviously this Hempwood is a great thing to talk about that. Dave, would you click on the 2020 Midwest Hempies for me?
What's the deadline on the early bird special?
November 30th.
Oh, coming up fast, yeah.
Yeah, Sherry Wilcock is asking a question there. The only post office that I know that can do that for fingerprints is the one in Ann Arbor. But if you check on the FBI website, it'll actually tell you where the locations are for those post offices. I think there's 57 of them throughout the United States that you can get that done at.
But you went to a UPS store. Is it all UPS?
I went to a UPS store, correct. But you can go to the post office in Ann Arbor. I know that's when I looked it up, that they actually do the fingerprints there as well too, somehow. Sherry, I went to the UPS store here in Grand Haven. So just check for UPS stores and give them a call and ask them, hey, can you do fingerprints? And they're going to tell you yes, but you need to bring in the QR code. And I think there's a number of different services that may use them, but I use Sterling. It's the one I use. Sterling Identity is what I use there. So you can get your passes for it's going to be virtual, but you can get your passes for the virtual, and you can get the exhibitors can get a reduced rate up until November 30th. So we've made that available to everybody to get a reduced rate if you just want to attend. Going to be 2 days with our with the Hempies Award being Saturday night, be the conclusion of the event. So the categories, we've got food products, we've got photos, we've got personal care products, we've got pets, we've got innovations, we've got miscellaneous, we've got textiles. Now the awards, there's going to be 3 awards in each one, except for the photo. We're going to do 3, plus we're going to do a People's Choice, because we'll vote on that during the expo. The miscellaneous one, anybody can enter into that, even from outside the Midwest. For the Midwest, we're calling the Midwest areas Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, and Wisconsin for this event. And so the first 3 places in all those categories, except for the miscellaneous, are going to be can only be won by Midwest area. So it has to be processed, manufactured here in the Midwest in order to win that award. It's $50 to enter for this event for each item you put in, and we'll have a special room for everybody can see who submitted stuff, what the product was. So it'll be a great way to get the word out about your products for sure on that. All right. So we're looking for a great time with this. There's going to be a lot of information, a ton of information is going to be there. Not only what we're going to do, but the exhibitors are going to be able to put up their information as well. This will all be recorded and be able to get to it for a period of time after the event for sure. So if you have an exhibitor you want to talk to, maybe they're showing something and we've got a speaker that's talking on that same time, don't worry about it, because you'll be able to go back and you'll be able to watch that. And there will be ways for you to submit questions. Even if you're watching a video recording, there'll still be ways for you to submit questions and get answers for sure.
Do you have a picture of what the Hempy Award is going to look like yet?
No, we don't yet. I'm working with Greg and Squire to figure out what we're going to do there. But it's going to definitely be something very unique and certainly going to be made out of hemp for sure. That's our goal. Mm-hmm. So, we're looking for a fun time. We're looking for, it's going to be fun for everybody to do this. And then on Saturday night, we'll do an award kind of ceremony like they do for the Oscars or Emmys, that kind of stuff. So
now, there's a rumor going around you're going to be wearing a tuxedo. Is that correct, Blaine?
well, there may be. We'll see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I may have a penguin suit on. We'll see.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Hopefully, the idea is that we're going to be able to do this in Lansing at the Radisson that night, and it'll be a smaller group of people. So we're the people that get their spot at the to attend the expo, get their pass, so to speak. We'll probably put them in for a special drawing and see if they want to come and attend something in live and in person. And of course, we'll see. Rules may change by then. We'll see what happens, but certainly that's right now. We're planning a small Zoom kind of get together meeting that night so that we can award these and do this on a live presentation is our plan. So, yeah.
All right. Very good.
Okay. We're a little over on time, but not too bad. And thanks everybody for joining. Anything else, Mike or Dave, you want to add anything?
Only then we'll see everybody. Actually, we won't see everybody next week because it's Thanksgiving. Yes.
Thanks for reminding, Mike. That's right. We will not be having a show next Thursday. We hope all of you enjoy your time with your family and friends on that day, whether it be virtually or however you're going to do that. But we all hope to see everybody the following. So the next show will be Thursday,
the 4th, I think, right?
The 3rd.
3rd. Okay.
And on that one, we're going to have the Triminator. Is going to talk to us on their product and about how to prepare your crop for sale and what the Triminator can do to make that product presentable. So that's going to be our show for the 3rd. We'll have the Triminator on.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
See you next month.
Take care. Peace and love.